Accretions.
Yeah.
Just real basic. What's an accretion, and why should we care about it?
Okay, an accretion in general means a slow, gradual buildup. So you can think of a pipe that's getting more and more and more clogged or something like that. So it's additive and gradual and oftentimes kind of slow baked. So I have found this a helpful word at times to use to refer to post-apostolic innovations in the church that take place gradually. And I think it's helpful to use that word just because it is it highlights the gradual nature of how some errors and innovations happen. The Pharisees' traditions that Jesus opposes in Mark 7, he says, many such things you do. You nullify the word of God by your traditions. You're the people of God. You sit on the seat of Moses. You have real teaching authority, but you've added things on. So many such. So this was a habit that they were building on, and of course we know they had this claim of the oral law of Moses that they were the guardians of. So these do not just come about overnight. And a Protestant perspective about church history is this is one of the things you see throughout the medieval era, for example. You see certain things that are gradually kind of creeping in, and late patristic as well, especially 4th century. And that's, one of the, I make this case a lot in my videos, but I think the word accretion is helpful to ward off a common misunderstanding, and that is as though Protestants thought the lights suddenly went out, or suddenly people just jerked the steering wheel sideways, or something like this. No, it's just that things can gradually, slowly come into the mix. So I've talked about even the papacy as an accretion. That is my honest view. I think that it's a slow growth, a slow centralization of power. Look at the way Roman emperors gradually get more and more and more and more and more power. Even in the United States, where we have a tiny amount of time, relatively speaking, just a couple centuries, and the office is defined extremely clearly up front. Nonetheless, no historian would deny that office has expanded significantly in its powers over time. That's an accreted reality. Nobody came along one day and said, hey, let's change the power of the president. It just happens over time. So this is the Protestant concern about a lot of the doctrines that we see as innovations in church history. So the word accretions is trying to get at the gradual nature of it.
What's the difference between an accretion and doctrinal development?
Doctrinal development has a foundation in the apostolic deposit. It is the church's growth in understanding something that's within the deposit of faith. It's something that would have been recognizable to Jesus and the apostles.
I think that's helpful. I was thinking about that when you were talking about, like, say, the office of the president. It's certainly not apostolic, but like the founding fathers, they had the idea of a president.
Right.
And it's grown over time. I don't know if that would be more of a doctrinal development or an accretion, but I think you would say with the papacy, it wouldn't be quite like that. It wouldn't be that, within the New Testament, they had the office of the papacy, but it was just a lot smaller, and over time it got a lot bigger, right? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, that's correct. Okay. That's correct. Yeah. So the nature of the accretion would be larger scale with respect to the papacy, and would in fact involve the very term, and in fact the very office as such. In fact, the very existence of a singular bishop of Rome as a historical reality would actually be one of those accreted points along the way.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this clip. If you did, you'll probably enjoy the full interview too, which you can find here. And if you haven't already, you should consider subscribing, which you can do here. Lastly, if you are bought into the vision of gospel simplicity, which is bringing simplicity out of theological and historical complexity, you can support the channel by going to patreon.com/gospelsimplicity or clicking on the link in the description down below. Thanks, and God bless.